There are more than enough stories of excess in the lengthy history of the Roman Empire to fill many books. There is one emperor, Caligula, whose lifestyle stands out above the rest among the corrupt individuals who held the Roman throne. In just 4 years as emperor, Caligula managed to carve a place in history as one of the most opulent, perverse, and flat-out nuts rulers in all of history. Join us today as we look at the wild sex life and times of Caligula. Although Caligula's father died when he was a little child, his mother, Agrippina the Elder, was one of history's most cunning women. She unfortunately came up against Rome's Emperor Tiberius. Agrippina's cunning had grown old to Tiberius, who had her put to death before mercilessly destroying the rest of her family. The elder brother of Caligula, Nero, was exiled for treason, and the middle brother, Drusus Caesar, died in exile. As a result, Caligula was effectively treated as Tiberius' prisoner while residing with his 3 sisters, who were his entire surviving relatives. Maybe that's why he took to sleeping with each of them in public. According to Suetonius, at a large banquet he placed each of his sisters in turn below him, while his wife reclined above. Of these he is believed to have violated Drusilla when he was still a minor, and even to have been caught lying with her by his grandmother Antonia, at whose house they were brought up in company. He slept with anyone and everyone. It seemed that the more power Caligula attained, the more anxious he was to sleep around. Several historians, including Suetonius, claim that Caligula had not the slightest regard for chastity, either his own or others, and was accused of having homosexual relations, both active and passive, with Marcus Lepidus, also Nestor the comedian, and various foreign hostages. Moreover, a young man of a consular family, Valerius Catullus, revealed publicly that he had buggered the emperor, and quite worn himself out in the process. The point is that Caligula was extremely open about the fact that he'd go after anyone who excited him, which was pretty much everyone. He threw lavish adults-only parties. When he wanted to throw a party, Caligula would turn one of his marble-floored villas into his own Roman version of Studio 54. He'd round up literally hundreds of strangers of all social classes and then ply them with food and wine. In the background, professional musicians would play music to get everyone in the mood, while male and female sex workers mingled among the guests. He disrobed and described his partners in public. Caligula would approach a young Roman noble couple whom he had invited to the party. He'd choose the member of the couple most appealing to him, either male or female, and then inspect them as though appraising a piece of livestock up for auction. He'd pull their clothes off to reveal them to the crowd, and he'd comment loudly on their appearance. Then, Caligula would take the young noble person into his private quarters, defile them, and then return to the party to give his guests an informed blow-by-blow of his partner's performance. He once chopped a slave's hands off mid-party. Caligula was a man of quickly changing moods. On top of that, he was a bit of a sociopath who enjoyed messing with his guests' minds. At one party, he supposedly chuckled lightly to himself. When asked what he found so funny, the emperor replied, "Because if I nodded once to my guards, I could have all your throats cut." At another party, Caligula caught one of his slaves pocketing silver. In response, Caligula cut off the man's hands at the wrist and then had him carried around the party so each visitor could get a good look at the excitement. He ended people's lives for staring at his bald spot. For someone who was so concerned with other people's looks, Caligula apparently was plain himself. He was a skinny man with pale skin who was thinning on top, but who had a reputation for being pretty hairy everywhere else. Being the emperor, though, Caligula could ensure that he was respected. People caught looking down at him from a high place, who might have seen his bald spot, and anyone who mentioned the word goat in his presence could be struck down immediately. Caligula was extremely interested in making sure that the people around him were intimidated. He supposedly practiced making terrible and fearsome expressions before a mirror. He was slain in public in much the same way as the original Caesar. In addition to degrading the people of the empire one at a time, Caligula also enjoyed spending incredible amounts of money on fake food. He found it amusing. All of Caligula's games and lavish parties couldn't last forever, though. He apparently emptied the Roman treasury in a matter of months because he was spending more on parties than Rome took in. All this bad behavior caught up to Caligula though, and he was felled by a conspiracy of senators and the Praetorian Guard in public right before one of his lavish events. Thank you for watching. To support our channel, please subscribe and leave a comment.